Good evening, friends. Welcome to the Leader's Edge, Episode 1, Season.
Everyone, and welcome to our weekly webcast called The Leader's Edge. We are here tonight.
Welcome to episode number 7, Season
Leader's Edge. And in our show today, which is Season 6,
Leader's Edge, Season 3, Episode 10. And
I'm Nelson T. Welcome to this super special episode of The Leader's Edge.
And this is episode 8 of season 6.
Hey guys, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world.
We are now on our season 6, episode 2. And tonight, we have an amazing and a wonderful
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Leader's Edge. And today, it's Season 7, Episode 8. What a wonderful topic we have today, because we're going to be discussing the world of work is changing. That's why, or hence, capture the hybrid advantage. The hybrid advantage. It sounds like a really interesting topic and also very intriguing. And our speaker for today is none other than Janaka Kumarasinghe, who will be introducing himself so we get to know him better. Janaka?
Thank you, Aibowan. That's how we greet in our part of the world, Sri Lanka. And also that is very pertinent today because of the pandemic situation. We tell Aibowan means a long life. At the same time, we keep distance. So thank you very much for inviting me. I'm Janaka. If I am to give a brief introduction on myself, I am a human resource management thought leader. I'm pleased to join this YouTube channel in the Philippines because I could remember in 2004, I was elected as the president of Asia Pacific Federation of Human Resource Management at the HR conference, PMAP HR conference held in Cebu.
That's right.
Now I am involved as a chief operating officer for a software development company, also director of Kentridge consulting company, and also I'm a non-executive director of Valuable Finance PLC, one of the fastest growing finance companies in Sri Lanka. So that's a little background, and also I do some lecturing for leading university, Morattu, the Technological University in Sri Lanka, in their master's program. And also I happen to be a master's graduate from National University of Singapore and a graduate from Colombo University.
Wow, that's quite a list of credentials you have there, Janaka. It's a wonder you even have time to be with us today. So that, that's something I really appreciate. Now, I was curious because the title of the episode is The World of Work is Changing. Now, no one can deny that it is. Change is constant. The pandemic certainly made that change much faster than we had intended. So I'd like to help our viewers define first what is meant by hybrid, because that word really just captured my imagination. What did you mean when you said hybrid?
When I say the hybrid in our context, now we are talking of the world of work is changing. We are talking of work. The hybrid maybe means different things, but of course, where today the working people like to have their own flexibility to have their own flexibility of the time and the place. During the pandemic, we saw a lot of organizations shifting to working from home concept. Now with the pandemic maybe gradually erasing, we can see offices are opening, but again, we see Omicron or something going back. So there is a situation where people go to office for 2-3 days or 1-2 days, then work from home. And also there emerged a concept of work from anywhere, not only from home, from anywhere. Now you can see digital nomads in the IT industry. They are traveling around the world and working for an organization. So not only you're working from the office, you're also working from anywhere, maybe at different times. So hybrid is some sort of flexible way of working arrangement.
So if I understand this right, you're saying that organizations have had to make this change, to say negotiate it with their talents so that things become equitable. So like maybe there's a pursuit for work-life balance, but I'm wondering, how did this come about? Was this something initiated by the organization, or was there a clamor for it among the workforce? How was this precipitated?
I would say, it's spontaneous because suddenly we were caught up with a pandemic. Anyway, the world was changing. The technology was changing. The behavior was changing. The new generation coming was changing. Change is a constant thing. But with the sudden pandemic, there was no option. So the organizations, if they had to continue the business continuity, they had to change the model. So they took the work to their houses, people's homes. The officers were shifted to the houses. But later, then now the world started opening up, then leasing, then again back to office, again back to home, like hybrid. Some companies say we work for 3 days in the office, 2 days at home, likewise. And some companies even have given extended weekly holidays. So now people have got the taste of this hybrid, where they can spend more time with their children, less time on the road, traffic, and less expenses on food and clothing and other things. So because of that, so it's the behavior change also happened. People also accept there are certain benefits, of course. There are certain challenges also in a hybrid situation. But now it has, I think, it will become a norm, maybe the hybrid. Maybe it's contextual, I would say, but certain operations like where we have to work on a factory or a hotel, you need to be there, presence. But now, if you're talking of many of the white collar workers working from home and all of, in offices, there could be hybrid situations.
I see. And I quite resonate with what you're saying. I have started to really enjoy working from home because, I don't know what the traffic is like in your country, but in my country, it can be monumental. So the prospect of just staying home, saving fuel, saving time is very welcome. But I'm curious though, what would be the percentages when it comes to people going to work? Because in some countries, it's say 30% only of the workforce is allowed at a time at the office, and the rest aren't allowed to report for work there, so they work from home. What are the percentages you think in your situation?
Yeah, from time to time, even now I'm coming from Sri Lanka. Our government has been imposed, say 50% people at the office and all likewise. But having said that, it's up to the organization how they can run the operation, right? With the skeleton staff, with the required staff, how can run the. See, it's up to the organization to decide how the percentage, and also it might depend from industry to industry, business to business also.
You do have a good point, because if it's manufacturing or say supply chain organizations, they need the manpower. They can't do that from home. And, I'm wondering, when it comes to this sort of flexibility, was there resistance at first, or was there easy acceptance? How did it go for you, especially? Because I'm curious about the individual. Sometimes it's easy to talk about the country or the nation as a whole, but for you, Janaka, what was it like?
Yeah, now this is a sudden shift or a change. Normally, change attracts resistance. There is resistance, but of course, there was no option here. When there was a pandemic, everybody was scared of moving out, but still you need to earn, you need to continue the business. So
True.
there was no option. So these people started working from home. So
Yeah.
initially, yeah. But later I can see there is something called great resignation happening, where when people are asked to come to office again, they feel, okay, now how I'm going to go there? I'm used to this thing. I'm used to my children, work-life balance. So people prefer to less travel, work according to their own time schedule. So there is also resistance where some organizations find people leaving, and it's coined as great resignation.
I understand that change is inevitable and change can occur in so many different forms, not just how we work, but even climate. Now, is climate change a factor at all in the way that we are adapting to this particular change, the hybrid system?
Of course, because now you see how many people travel to cities, to offices in the morning and back home afterwards. In fact, most of the transport facilities are heavily used during these peak times. But we saw during the close, the environment, the indicators, the air clean indexes and all improving. So if people can spend maybe part of their work, do some work from home, you don't need to travel. The countries don't need so much of railroads, transport systems, vehicles, vans and all to bring people to office back and forth. Also take the other side of it now, say the business travel. Now I was listening to some CEOs of the airline industry. They were saying this reduction in business travel is going to stay there because now they got used to, now the board members don't travel for board meetings, the online board meetings. Likewise, many things, maybe once in a year or they travel. So likewise, their travel has reduced, other things. So there is a lot of use of energy reduction. There is less use of energy. So one side from transport side. So then other side, do you need now? We keep on building buildings, urbanization, huge buildings. But if people can convert part of their house, a room to the office, they can work. So you don't need another building where while the office building is lying just idling in the night.
Yeah.
There's another office, the office working at home. So you, instead of two buildings, you can have one space. Maybe, of course, this is now when you're talking of the consumption economy, this may have there be question marks. But having said that, the world, now what the problem we are facing is the world, with the population growth, the world doesn't have enough resources. Now, if the world population goes to around 9-10 billion, from 6 billion, the resource, there will be a lot of constraint on the resources. But this is one way, the hybrid work model is one way you can reduce the constraint on resources and save resources, reduce global warming, slow down climate change. So I think the world should grab the opportunity. That's why I said grab the hybrid opportunity.
You do have a point because ever since this era of the pandemic entered, we've had cleaner air, we've had birds, butterflies come back. And yet, despite all of those advantages to the environment, to our planet, I've noticed as well that young people, millennials, Gen Z, seem to have adapted to this change way better than people from our generation, for example. Because when I think about the generational differences, and our guest from the last episode was able to discuss that, and the insight that I got from it that I'd like to pass on to you and maybe ask you about is, was it difficult for you to make the shift? Because before, when people were in the office, it's easy to manage them because you could see them across your table, talk to them, read their faces, sense the emotion behind what they're saying. But now you have to do things remotely and often through chat. How was that for you in terms of adapting to this change, this hybrid system?
I think, we have been used to maybe the physical work environmental, monitoring people physically coming and going. And sometimes after getting used to that for a few decades, again, suddenly shifting to another way is difficult. At the same time, we are not that technology savvy sometimes. Now, say, we started learning, maybe to be very frank, I used to have an e-bank, but I started banking online after the pandemic. And also, though we used computers, we didn't use much them for meetings, but we used them for after COVID. So for us, even learning with technology was a bit of a challenge. But of course, younger generation, they have been growing with the technology. For them, the shift was easy. Having said that, as you said, or even the organizations, the managers used to monitor. Now the monitoring system has to change from maybe from a time driven to output driven. What are the during that time, have you performed that? Have you completed that task? So even the job should change. The monitoring performance management should change to get the maximum out of this hybrid situation.
Indeed, as I see it, it's going to be a challenge for not just the staff but the managers as well. Because even though people seem to like working from home, I see it also as a struggle because many of our workers, many of our people have issues at home, issues that they cannot leave behind if they're working at home. For example, what if you're looking after, say, somebody who's bedridden? Or say, what if you are trying to help your children with their education? So is it possible that working from home and a hybrid situation may in fact have made our people busier than they were when they used to work in the office? Because now, where where do you define the line between work and homework? You know, cooking, cleaning, feeding. The lines are blurred. So, how have you found the secret somehow to juggling things around and motivating people?
Yeah, I think you are correct, because there are some I was speaking to some young even IT workers last. There is a lot of depression sometimes among people during when you are working from. And today I was speaking to one of my friends from a doctor practicing in Australia. He was telling even there is domestic violence has increased during working because people are at home, because the home environment was not totally ready for a work environment. So there are sometimes there are limitations, less rooms, less IT and infrastructure facilities, less a competent. Now say so some mothers it was a nightmare because the children are at home. They are trying to learn online, and mother has to keep on see whether the youngster is going to unnecessary sites, and also so mother has, and also she has to look after the household matters, cooking and other things. So there are certain challenges, I would say. Not that everybody accepts it the same way, but having said that, as people were getting adjusted to this. That's why even the architects, the interior designers, in time to come have to think when they are designing houses, they should create where places where people can work from home, where they can manage their work without much disturbances. So it will take some time, because to get all this not physical infrastructure ready, the IT infrastructure ready, the mindset, behavior ready. There are negatives, there are drawbacks of working home, challenges of working home. But despite, I believe, you can overcome, because when you weigh them, the advantages can outweigh the disadvantages.
I would tend to agree. Families are getting to know each other very well now. There's no complaints about I'll never get to watch my kids grow, because now if you're working from home, you're with them all day. The thing though is, and I'm curious about this. You do attend a lot of Zoom meetings, I presume, or say MS Teams meetings on a regular basis. Has it gone to the way that it's been going on here in my country, where oftentimes when we attend meetings, it looks a lot like a columbarium, meaning the cameras are off, everybody's muted, and only the person who is making a report is visible and is audible? Is that going on in your country as well, where people opt to turn off their videos and mute themselves when they attend meetings?
Yes, there is something called Zoom fatigue. People are also getting sometimes Zoom for this meeting fatigue.
Yeah.
Even in the software outfit I'm working, now we have a company practice where when they have a meeting, we say please keep the camera on, because then there is no engagement. But having said that, also these online meetings have created where earlier people used to work from maybe office time, morning, maybe whatever the time, 9 to 5 or whatever. Now with this online culture, sometimes there is no end for meetings. People put meetings at late hours and various things. That's another challenge the workers, employees are facing. So there is no time limitation, no time to eat, no time to rest and all. So organization, that's why some organizations are having now developing policies. When you're having meetings, these are the times, don't disturb workers after work and all. So that also needs to evolve. Is this hybrid has to be more effective.
Mhm. In the future, say moving forward 2, 3 years from now, because nobody can say when this pandemic will eventually be over. Omicron seems to be going away. Hopefully, no new variant will rear its ugly presence around the world. Let's say 2 or 3 years forward that we're still like this. Here's an intriguing question for you, because this is where we need to practice some of our imagination. If people get used to this, and all the advantages it provides, time with family, saved from traffic, more time to do work, and possibly not having to see the boss except maybe 2 or 3 times a week. uh, what's your fearless prediction? If the pandemic disappears, say in 2 to 3 years' time, will we ever go back to the way it was, or have we somehow gotten so used to this and prefer this now that we will tend to just make sure the internet gets faster and more stable? What do you think?
I think the with time the jobs will change. The organizations, the processes will change. Now you can see a lot of remote working, not a lot of working in the US, and others are coming to other countries. Like people are remotely working for other countries, right? So people are getting the taste of working from being away, not physically present. So I think that will come to stay. At the same time, the employment contract might change, where people will have work on remote contracts, consultancy contract, output contacts more than uh, for spending the whole time for one employee. Maybe you can use your expert. Now, if you are a financial expert, you can work for many organizations giving that expertise rather than one organization. So I would say the job will change. The concept of office will change. At the same time, now I can see when people don't have the infrastructure, facilities, sometimes to work from home, because there are certain challenges, as we discussed, to work from home for females and others. There could be co-working centers being created, not only in the cities, outstations, where people in a remote area or an island, they can go to their co-working center and work for a few hours and come back. So instead of traveling to the main office, instead of taking in a hostel or a boarding and staying in the city or buying an apartment, you can work from your hometown area. But if your house doesn't have the facility, you can go to the co-working area and work for it. So likewise, even the students can go to the co-working place and learn from there, other than traveling to a faraway school. So I see that there will be a tendency to change. The job will change, the organization, the processes will change. A lot of things will change, because the pandemic has shown, given that planted the seed, okay, things can be done differently.
That's true. And it seems that, thank God for children being so resilient, they're able to adjust, to adapt. Uh, you've got a point there, because in one of our episodes, we did speak with another guest who was describing how a lot of jobs will disappear over time. The more things get automated. For example, people who drive for a living, when cars become self-driving, when things are more automated, we will need to massively retool many of our talents, many of our workforce, to adapt to the new realities. You said that anybody who is used to working from home, working with, say, technology and being able to focus on the deliverables. My question, therefore, is, as a manager, would that be, say, the new measure for effectivity in leadership? in that they can extract the output or the KPIs from their people remotely, rather than before when you'd be in the office, you'd have meetings.
I think this.
How yeah,
Sorry, please. Yeah.
that's okay. That's okay.
I think the skill set required by the managers, leaders will also change with time, because maybe how to get the best out of the people uh, from the output driven set. Like what is the
Yeah.
outcome or output, right? That will both, and also how to engage people in a remote working environment, how to engage, how to communicate with them, even the ethics, the respect up to time and other things, right? So the managers, the managerial, the competency frame, leaders competency frameworks also might get adjusted, I would say, with this pandemic and the technology savviness. So it's, I think people managers, all other managers may have to think what are the new skills required in the new era.
Mm. I have two more questions I'd like to throw in your direction. One has to do with, say, how do we manage the morale of people, especially because there's not much chance to get to know, especially new hires, right? I mean, before when we met in offices, we could spend time at the coffee shop or by the water dispenser and chat a bit. But now, because everything's all business, all through keyboards and stuff, um, how do we plant emotional deposits in people if we aren't with them? You know what I'm saying? Physically. So this is remote. Do you have like online meetings just to get to know people instead of just work?
Yeah, in our software company, we started something called open mic, this thing, where we switch on the cameras and ask a few people to sing a song or explain an art or something like that. So
Okay.
it's a bit of an emotional catching up session. So that's one way we tried in the organization. At the same time, this hybrid, when you say work the hybrid, you are not totally working from home. Once in a while, the groups meet, the teams meet. That gives an opportunity for you all to meet each other. So, and there is more value when people meet once in a while rather than every day, right? So there,
True.
then hybrid also provides that. And maybe things like outbound training where people do certain things together, team buildings and all also will be there. And apart from even online on team building sessions now, talent shows and other things. So even even other things also, as in a hybrid culture, they'll also prevail.
That's true. I've heard of some consultants who are able to do team building online, which is going to be certainly a challenge, but it's welcome because bonding is so critical with people. Here's my last question, at least for the topic about our workforce. Are you noticing people staying longer, or do they jump around more often now because of this pandemic? As far as loyalty, staying with a job, do they stay longer or do they tend to move around faster?
I would say that's also depends on the industry. Say the IT industry. I'm also involved in the IT industry. There are a lot of turnover. Employees are jumping from one organization to other, right? And we saw in the hospitality industry, a lot of people move away from the hospitality industry because they found that's a very sensitive industry which is prone to so many environmental change. They are affected. So people move out of the hospitality industry. So that's why even in my country, the hotels are finding it difficult to have the skilled people. So I would say it depends from industry to industry. Some of the traditional organizations may have their people will stay there. But some maybe youngsters who have the opportunity to move on, they will move on. So it will depend on the industry to industry. But having said that, resignation part also, sometimes I have seen companies are finding it difficult now. Those who have gone to far away places, when they are called back to the office, they don't like to come back. So that's why the resignations happen.
I
They don't
can't say
want to
that
come
I
to
agree. Yeah. Okay. So overall, we're saying that we are adapting. We are somehow learning to live with this new situation. Um, would you agree that there's a chance this pandemic will never go away, and that maybe we will just have to learn to live with it, just like with the flu? And if that's the case, um, a lot of things that used to be different will now be the present normal, not a new normal, but a present normal, especially things like schools, right? Um, we're adapting because we understand what's going on. With children in your country, because in our country there is still some hesitation to allow children to go to school. Um, how do you feel about letting them go back to their campuses, back to their classrooms? Will that ever happen again, or would it all be remote?
I would say there also will be a hybrid option where some of the coursework, some of the work can be done remotely. Maybe practical sessions, maybe interactive sessions. They need to come to offices of the universities, campuses. So there are also, they can use the hybrid mode, maybe learn much as possible being away, but when the required come there. So by that, I think even the universities, the schools will be able to use the infrastructure even to double the intake, because they are all the time people are not inside, right? Maybe half of people are first year or second year, whatever, they are working remotely. So you can even increase the inputs, the intakes. Even when you take the school children, I would say now in my country, Sri Lanka, there is this tuition culture. Though they learn in school, they take extra classes. Sometimes actually there is duplication of just parents spend so much of resources, time taking their children to tuition classes. And so the benefit I have seen is after this pandemic, now they don't have to take their children to tuition classes. So only one class is there. So maybe one. So you can save time. So maybe it's also high time for even the education sector to restructure, not to do things repeatedly, because you teach in school, teach in the same tuition class, right? So maybe it's high time we productivity lose this, and that will also have an impact on the global climate change and other things, resource constraints.
Janaka, the world and its situation has handed us a lemon, but like you, I feel that maybe we can turn it into lemonade. So my question is, what message would you like to finally leave with our audience? As they think about work as being hybrid, as they think about adapting to climate change, to work change. Is there a special event you'd like to promote? Anything or an activity?
Of course, now I am part of NPOD, that is Asian Network of People and Organization developed. We formed recently with some countries like India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Philippines, Singapore, Vietnam, and also I am part of that network. So we are also promoting sharing our knowledge. I would say this, with this pandemic, there is an opportunity for us to leapfrog. As the saying goes, every dark cloud has a silver lining. So there are negatives, a lot of negatives. But having said that, this is an opportunity for the world to leapfrog from where we are, to improve the quality of work, improve the quality of work life, and also to delay the climate change, which is inevitably happening, because it might hit again. So I think we should use this positively to see that we take the world to the next level for the improvement of the quality of life in the world. Thank you.
You're right. Yeah, thank you so much, Janaka. For first of all, for having the time to do this with us. But second is also to bring a measure of hope, or a message of hope for our viewers, because we need it. My thinking is that more speakers like you should be coming on to share what situations are like in their country and how they're adapting to it, because best practices are meant to be shared. And thank you for sharing that with our viewers. I hope that we could invite you in the future for, say, another topic, maybe.
Thank you. Yes, of course. Thank you. And also I thank Gina for inviting me for this session. I really enjoyed. So I'm coming from Sri Lanka, where we are also strategically located in the Indian Ocean. We are as a country, we are trying to strive with our challenges. So I'm very much pleased to join with your the YouTube channel and also your country, which we shared a lot of common things since 1950s and all. So I'm pleased. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's been our privilege to have had you with us, and for letting us know that we're not alone, that everybody is holding together, uniting to make the best out of this situation, and together we could slow down climate change. Thank you for that powerful message. So, ladies and gentlemen, for season 7, episode 10, we'll be having Nicasio Nick Lim, DPM, who will be talking about his journey as an HR professional, meaning his rise to the top of leadership and influence. So I hope that you will stay with us then. And if you enjoy the show, this particular episode with Janaka, please do click on like, share, and subscribe. And as ever, ladies and gentlemen, remember, even through this pandemic, even through this massive change that we're going through, that learning is a never-ending journey with limitless vistas. Good day.
Thank you.